Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After running through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. A few interesting news stories here. One that pertains to the game against the Raiders, which we'll get into later on more in depth, but this definitely hits on probably the biggest topic, or one of the bigger topics of that game in the last two games in preseason. Dolphins signed quarterback Mackenzie Alexander for the Minnesota Vikings. Alexander has not had good play in recent years, and I feel like that showed up in the preseason this year. Or this previous game, that was his first game in a Dolphins uniform. Even though he just got here, obviously Byron and X did not play in this game. He didn't look great. He made some plays later in the game, but I felt like his play was shaky as well. Crossan continues to look the best out of the backup corners, in my opinion. And Noah Igbenogany, who had an awful night last night. He is just not meant to be an outside corner. I don't think he can be an inside corner. I think the best thing for him is to be a safety in this scheme. I think that could fit him, matching up with tight ends one-on-one. He cannot deal with even backup receiver. And, last week I kind of gave him a pass because the Bucs have really good depth at that position. We played some zone. He wasn't great in that either. But in this game, there is no excuse for him continuing to play bad. It's just, I don't know what people saw in camp, but so far this preseason, Igbenogany has just not looked good at all. He just doesn't have the speed, and his technique, I have no idea why he doesn't punch people off the line of scrimmage, gives them free releases. He gets beat on crossing routes that cross across the field all the time. He just doesn't have the speed for it, and he doesn't have the quickness to keep up with people when they're coming in out of their breaks. He's not very good technique-wise. Especially when the ball's in the air. He doesn't get his head around, doesn't play the ball. He doesn't do anything right that a corner should do, and especially in this scheme. And that showed up again in this game because a lot of the front seven played in this game, and they dominated the line of scrimmage, especially in pass protection. And the back end just could not hold up because of the poor play of Mackenzie Alexander and Igbenogany, especially on those first few series. So, obviously, this isn't the starting set. I thought Nick Needham looked great out there. What a player he's become. Obviously, he hurt his hand. It doesn't seem to be serious, which is a good thing. But, the Dolphins have literally everything in the secondary that you could want. They have two great safeties. They have three great safeties. They have three, in my opinion, really good corners, obviously with Byron, Nick, and X. The corner depth is definitely starting to worry me a little bit. Now, Crossan is that fourth guy out, and he's played well. And he made a nice little play down the sideline in this preseason game. And again, people forget he has played in this scheme in the past in New England, and he looks better than what the Dolphins have. And especially with the torn ACL with Trill Williams, I don't know. It's just the depth isn't looking great. And Igbenogany is not the answer. Hopefully he doesn't get to play any NFL games because he is just not turned into what they need to switch his position. They have to try him. This is how many years of seeing him in camp and all this other stuff. It's like, at least try him in another position. Give him a shot there. And then get rid of him if he doesn't work well at that position because he is a first-round pick. They should have moved his position earlier, especially after year two. And Josh has been here for a few years now. He should know that. It's the same defensive scheme. They should have switched his position. Unless they don't think he can do that. He's a big dude. Like, he is a big corner. And he can tackle. And he did that in college. Just put him at safety. In my opinion, they should have switched him earlier. And maybe they could have found something and gotten something out of him. But him at corner, it just doesn't work. And again, one of the weakest points so far in the preseason, at least, and everybody's noticed it, is the depth at the cornerback position is just not good. And I know when people say that, it's like, yeah, they have four good ones, in my opinion. And maybe Eric Rowe should play a little bit more corner this year if it comes to that. Hopefully it doesn't. In terms of veterans that are still out there, Chris Harris is still out there, who would be a nice addition. Because Nick Needham has played well on the outside. They can move Chris inside and put Nick outside if an injury occurred. They could go out and go get Joe Hayden, who I did not know was a free agent. I just read that today. That would be a great addition. They could keep Nick inside and put Joe outside. I think Joe Hayden still has enough in the tank to play better. Any of those additions would have been better than Mackenzie Alexander. I'm not really sure what the Dolphins saw in him. Maybe they just saw someone cheap to sign, see what he can do in preseason, but he is not the answer either. So let's move on. Even though he did play better as the game went on, but that was against backups. And he still gave up some big plays to Keenan Cole. Anyway, what is the other? Oh yeah, here. The Dolphins. Okay, Stephen Ross. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Stephen Ross to leave the franchise in his family's hands instead of Bruce Beal. In case you're interested in this, whatever. I mean, obviously Stephen is a very old man. And he tends to leave it to his family instead of his business partner. I don't really find anything wrong with that. It's pretty common around the NFL. I don't know anything really about Bruce Beal. He has been a part of this organization for a while, at least around it. So, I don't know. And I can't judge Stephen Ross's family. Who knows if they're qualified to own an NFL franchise? Who knows? I don't know. We do know that Stephen Ross has a ton of money. And has never really had any problem spending it for the Dolphins, which is a good thing. Even with the practice facilities in the stadium, and obviously in free agency, even though obviously we could all argue that some GMs and maybe decisions that he's made in free agency haven't been great. But he is willing to spend the money, which is a good thing. And that is it for the news, I think. So let's get into the Raiders game. There's a lot to break down in this game. I think we'll start with the first team offense. We'll start with the offense, and then we'll get to the defense. The Dolphins with their first loss of the preseason, 15-13 against the Raiders. We'll start with the quarterback. Well, should we start with the quarterbacks? We'll start with the front. We'll start with the offensive line because. I said last week, obviously with the poor run game last week, it was terrible last week. At least I chalked it up to the fact that, the Buccaneers have a lot of really good, and most of the backups played for the majority of the game last week. The Buccaneers have a lot of really good, and they stack the box. They have a lot of really good backup defensive linemen. It continued this week against the Raiders, which the Raiders really don't have a good front seven at all. So this is really bad. I would say alarming, to say the least. Hopefully, when the regular season comes around, maybe we see more exotic plays. But they have to get the run, because if they get the run game going, this offense is unstoppable. The pass protection is much, much better than it was a year ago. I think the scheme helps out with a lot of that. They have to get the run game going. The first drive, maybe it was the second drive, one of the two Tua drives when he was moving the ball down the field. And this happened throughout the entire game. You have to convert third and short. That is unacceptable. And that's the reason they settled for so many field goals, is because they could not run the football, whether that was on first down or second down, or even a lot of 3rd and 1 situations where they just could not get any push up front. They have to be better at that. And one of the things that I think is affecting the run game, and even the screen game, because the screen game, it's not just Mike McDaniel, it's been everybody who's come through here, has been really bad. One of the things I think is hurting the run game and even the screen game is the tight ends blocking is such a big part of this offense. Whether that's in the screen game or the run game, they're doing an awful, awful job of that. And obviously people have been making fun of Gesicki a lot, but some of the other tight ends have done great either. Like Durham Smythe had a terrible block against the Buccaneers on a screen that just completely blew it up. Like they're all not being very consistent when it comes to blocking. So the tight ends have to play better in the run game, because they haven't played well in the screen game or run game so far this preseason. That has to change for the regular season. Like I said, it's not just Mike, it's all of them. So, all in all, the run game has to be better. The play calling all preseason has been great. I have no problem. It just hasn't been executed in the run game. I don't think the run play calling has been bad at whatsoever. It's just someone misses their block here and there, or that's really what it comes down to. So the tight ends have to play better. We need to see obviously more production in the run game, because that was really bad last night. The fact that they couldn't even convert a 3rd and 1, and you even had to, I'm sure Mike had to think about it as a play caller because of how bad they were blocking up front in the run game. And one thing else I will say is if someone can correct me, at least definitely in some of the, especially in the 3rd and short runs, I don't think Ingold was in there. So maybe the fullback presence will be a little bit better. I would have to look that up. But I don't think he played. And maybe that'll help some, is getting Ingold back in the fold. And he's a very good fullback. And very athletic, too. So he can help with some of the outside run stuff, too. And again, if the Dolphins want to run the football, because a lot of their really bad runs were on the outside. There was a pitch play early on that was just terrible. That was designed that you could cut it back. But nobody block the edge at all, and the Titans just have to play better. So again, not great on the run game standard at all. Very disappointing in that department. But the pass protection pretty much all night was really good, like really, really good. And it should have been, because the Raiders don't have a lot of pass rush on the edge. And I thought they pretty much dominated in the pass game all night. And that really shows in some of the numbers. I think where you get some of the pressures and most of the pressures of this game, for whatever reason, I don't know if the Raiders game planned for this, but their bootleg defense was amazing. They kept blitzing their safeties on the weak side, and every time we bootlegged, they had a safety right there in someone's face. Or a defensive end or someone like that. So, and that had a lot to do with not getting the run game going, because nobody was crashing down for the running back at all, and that was obviously affected the bootleg game. So, but in terms of just traditional pass protection, the bootleg stuff isn't the offensive line's fault. They did a really good job all night. So at least there's that. It's good to see that at least. What else did I notice that? We talked about the secondary. Everything else defensively, I'm pretty proud of, or pretty happy with, especially like backups like Stilly. I think that's his name. John Jenkins has looked good. He looked really good last night. He's looked great. Every interior defender has looked fantastic. Gustinson, I think, from Cleveland. He was always a nice, rotational player. He's looked fantastic. At one point, they had to double team him, which I thought was funny in preseason. They were chipping him with the running back because they couldn't handle him. But I do want to focus on the starting defensive line, which really jumped out to me. I feel like everybody looked better than they did even a year ago, especially players like Van Ginkel. I thought everybody looked fantastic, and even Jason Taylor pointed that out. Jalen Phillips looks better. Everybody's better. I mean, and Melvin Ingram didn't even play. So that's a really good sign, because the starting secondary hasn't been together yet. And if they hum like that, we're going to win a lot of games. They dominated the Raiders' offensive line, especially in the pass game. So that was great. What else? Oh, and one thing I will add, and I kind of already said it, but John Jenkins has looked really good throughout the He looks more explosive than I've seen him look. He actually had a couple nice quarterback pressures as well. So it's nice to see him play well, because he'll help us a lot in the run game. Just a lot of really nice players in depth, and especially with the addition of Gustinson, just one of the best defensive line units in the NFL. Offensively, what have we not hit on offensively? We hit on the tight ends, we hit on the quarterback. The running backs, Chase Edmonds looked good in the pass game. Gaskin and Ahmed, looked like Gaskin and Ahmed. There's not really much to comment. It's not their fault. They didn't have a ton of help in the run game. So it was a little underwhelming, but it was cool to see Chase Edmonds make a few plays. He had a really nice night in the pass game, making a couple people miss and keeping plays alive for Tua. So I thought he looked really, really good. In terms of the quarterbacks, I'm making sure I'm not forgetting anything. I don't think I'm forgetting anything too crazy. We'll talk about the receivers. The Dolphins have a huge issue at receiver. It's because they have way too many talented players. I don't know what they're going to do at receiver, but I like literally all of them. I like Braylon Sanders a lot. I like the speed that he brings. He's a good route runner. Rivercraft is the only one that I've been kind of disappointed in, and I guess Preston Williams too, even though he had a few catches last night. But Braylon Sanders, Eric Azukama, and Trent Sherfield, I really like all three of them. And I think they fit this scheme really, really well. So it's going to be a tough decision. I think, and even like Lynn Bowden, I completely forgot about. I think Lynn Bowden can make the team just as a special teams player and a gadget guy. He doesn't necessarily have to make it as a receiver, even though he is a receiver. Maybe it's kind of like a Devin Hester situation. But man, dude, they have just so many talented receivers on this team, and it's nice to see that. Because if they can get the run game going, and the pass protection looks much better, that's, I mean, even if someone, I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say if someone got hurt, but there's just a lot of really talented receivers on this, and it shows up every single game. The Dolphins moved the ball all night long. The Raiders really couldn't cover anybody on the back end, and that shows up with the quarterback stats and even some of the receiving stats here. But they should have scored more points, and the reason they didn't is because they couldn't run the football. But if they can run the football, I'm telling you, this team is unstoppable. It's just going to be really, really hard to stop this team on offense. Like, very difficult. It's pick your poison, especially with the speed of Reek and Waddle. I just don't know how you would defend, and all the creativity on some of these play action bootlegs, and it's going to be really, really fun to watch. The offense has really, really been, and I know the run game hasn't been there, but I really like the passing game so far. It's more aggressive than a year ago, and it stresses out the defense because of all the speed that they have. And I think a lot of people assumed that it would be dink and dunk when it really hasn't been, especially in the play action game. So let's talk about the quarterbacks. There's a lot to break down here. We'll start with Teddy because I thought he played the worst. He missed a lot of reads. I wouldn't say a lot, but he missed like 3 or 4 that was like, why in the world would he go to I just don't like Teddy Bridgewater. He looks a lot slower than the other quarterbacks, I think, athletically at least. I don't think he's throwing it as well as the other two. He had a couple nice throws. One on just a traditional drop back under center where he hit Rivercraft on like a deep out route. And then the one to Sanders, those are 2 really good throws. But I thought, especially like the safety, just some plays that Teddy has some plays that I just don't get it. He should have thrown the ball away early on in that play. And like I said, he misses reads sometimes in the short passing game. That I'm not really. I just feel like he doesn't see the field as well as the other 2 quarterbacks do. And I thought that was pretty evident. I feel like when he was in the game, especially in the pass game, I just didn't think the offense ran it as efficiently as it did with the other 2. He did get 20 attempts. The other 2 got 10 and 8. But even then, they were more efficient with, especially in the short pass game. I just thought they saw the field better, and you can tell athletically. I think they move around the pocket and move around outside of the pocket better as well. So not the greatest night for Teddy, even though he did throw, he was 10 for 20 for 119 yards, and he did have 2 nice throws in the game. I will give him that. He also missed a wide open slant across, but that he missed it high. It's like stuff like that. It's just inconsistencies in Teddy's game are strange, especially for a veteran quarterback. So we'll go with Tua. I thought Tua looked fantastic. Obviously Gesicki had the weird drop, I guess you'll call it. I thought he saw the field well. His release is beautiful. I think he's throwing the ball better. And I said this without even seeing him throw in preseason, but I think he's throwing the ball better than he has his entire career. And I think it's noticeable. He moves. His pocket presence is going to be even more deadly this year because of the better pass protection. His ability to move inside and outside and throw and run is really special. His feel for the game has always been great. So I think he's playing the best football of his career so far. I don't think anybody... And he's definitely gained weight. Like, if you look at Tua last year, and even the year before that, he's a way bigger quarterback this year than he's ever been. So yeah, I thought he looked great. especially in the pass game. He made some really nice throws down the field too. He had that nice kind of deep hook route to the opposite, not the opposite side, but to the left side of the field. And he just saw the field really well as well. And I just like the way he played. He just looks smooth. The best way to describe to his game is smooth. Now for the headline, I think, of the Dolphins preseason is Skylar Thompson, and I forgot to talk about Eric, who had a fantastic game. 6 catches for 114 yards, averaged 19 yards a catch, and you could tell that Mike wanted to get him involved a little bit and run after the catch. They just couldn't block anything all night, whether that was in the run or screen game. It's not Eric's fault. And I hated that play call. And I'm bringing so I know it's a preseason game, but it was like, dang, man, because it was such a nice drive by Eric and Skylar. It sucks that they just kind of had a blown play there, but Eric looks it's just kind of an embarrassment of riches at this point. It's the best receiving core that I think we've seen in the last 10 years for sure. It's fantastic. They have a little bit of everything, and Eric really adds that bigger receiver who's physical. And can kind of be a little bit stronger after the catch as well. Eric looks fantastic. I'm going to give that credit to Wes Welker for that draft pick. And Skylar, who's been amazing his first 2 preseason games. I thought he was 9 for 10 for 129 yards and a touchdown. And if it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't run the football and a blown screen call, his numbers would have even been better. Skylar looks really good. He sees the field really well for a player who's only played 2 preseason games in his NFL career. Like, Teddy, and this is something I've noticed with Teddy, you could tell, and this is a great comparison. Teddy had a few nice plays where he looked off the defense with his head, and Skylar did the same thing, like multiple times last night. And the greatest example of that is the touchdown to Zaquandre White. The rookie from South Carolina, was a design like little wheel route to come out of the backfield. Looked off the entire defense, executed it perfectly. Didn't even literally just felt him open. It was something like Drew, and I know people are gonna freak out, but Drew Brees did that all the time, where he just saw he had a great feel for where everyone was, and didn't have to even look at Zaquandre White to know. Whether he saw the coverage and he knew it was going to be open, whatever it was, he just saw the field so well, and looked off people on a consistent basis in the back end. And I think that's his greatest thing that he's done so well. Is his reads are fantastic. He rarely misses. I don't think I've seen him miss anybody with his miss anybody open down the field. He's had 2. I would say not great throws so far in preseason, and that's it. He moves in the pocket really well, and his arm strength is great. And I think people have talked about that. And he's got great anticipation. He plays the game at a very high level, and he's played better than Teddy has. So I don't know why. Even on the broadcast. The Dolphins broadcast, they were talking about what do you do with Skylar Thompson? It's like you would keep. I don't know what the cap hit would be if we got rid of Teddy, or just keep 3 quarterbacks. I don't know why you wouldn't. Skylar has played too good not to keep, yeah, I don't know much else to say there. I don't know how you could even quit. The fact that Jason Taylor was do you get rid of him? Is crazy to me, because of how good he's played in preseason. And again, I think his feel for the game, his ability to see the field, has been illustrated by his efficiency so far this preseason. 9 for 10, and even last week he was 20 for 28 against the Buccaneers. So, and that's without a running game. He's been fantastic. Blown away by him. Blown away of how well he's played in preseason. Even the deep out route on I can't remember what down it was, but it was a long yardage situation. Just got the bad penalty call. Honestly thought it was a drive killer. No, it wasn't a penalty. It was a bad snap by Michael Dieter, who had a couple of bad snaps in this game. But other than that, I thought Michael Dieter played well in blocking at center. But yeah, I can't say Skylar Thompson has played very, very, very well, and I think he's, at least so far, and has played better than Teddy Bridgewater. I cannot believe how well he's played. I kind of feel like it's underplayed a little bit. I don't want to get crazy and say, but I do think that he obviously has played well enough to be on the roster. But overall, I was mad that we lost, obviously, with the missed Jason Sanders field goal. I was very upset that we lost that game. It's just the fan in me, I can't help it. But very happy with what I've seen from the offense. Not so happy with what I've seen from the tight ends. They have to play better. They just do. It sucks to see Hunter Long not get more playing time and play better. I loved his game in college. It just hasn't translated to the NFL. But we definitely need more from the tight ends, for sure. I don't think there's anything we could do about I'm trying to think. Hopefully this isn't a huge issue in the regular season, because that, to me, especially offensively, is the greatest need so far, is to find a tight end that fits the scheme. And hopefully that gets better as the regular season rolls around. But yeah, I do love I love the play calling too. And just to illustrate, the Dolphins move the ball all day long and just could not score a touchdown because of the run issues. They had 303 passing yards to the Raiders' 145 passing yards. They averaged 6 yards a play. They had only 37 rushing yards and had a total of 340 rushing yards total. They should have scored more points, but the run game kind of held them back. Not kind of, it just did. I mean, they could have had way more total yards. Just got nothing from the run game. But I will say this, they did dominate in pass protection, which they should have, because, like I said, the Raiders' front seven isn't that great. So it was good to see that at least. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we forgot about the fan unit. I think we only have one question, and I was like, oh no. Only one question, which is kind of sad. But thank you to Richard Rodriguez, who said, would you be surprised if Smythe started over Mike Gesicki? Yeah, I would. I think that Mike is still a really good receiving tight end. Does he fit in the scheme? No. Is he someone you would only use on third down? And that's an expensive player to only use on third down on an offense. It sucks to say this, because I do think he's still a great NFL tight end in a different offense. Hopefully that changes. I don't think Mike is going to become Popeye and start beating people over the head. He's just not this. He's not a physical. He doesn't have it in his heart. I hate to say it. He just isn't a physical. That's not his game. He's not a physical player. He's the biggest dude I've ever seen in the National Football League be that. Even Jimmy Graham, even Travis Kelce are more physical than he is. And those guys don't even get. Obviously, everybody thinks that they can't block. I think you'll see Smythe play more, at least so far. But they've got to find out what they want to do with him in this offense. Because Mike is still a good NFL player if you use him the right way. But even Durham Smythe has to play better. Those guys have to play better, and we'll see what happens. But that, to me, offensively, that and the run game have been the most disappointing. As the tight ends haven't been great in this scheme. And that has to get better. Let me know what you guys think about the whole Gesicki thing and what you would do with him if you were the Dolphins. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't wait for the next preseason game against the Eagles, and just seeing this offense, and I can't wait to see Tyreek Hill and Waddle together. And Tua has looked fantastic, so I'm very excited, and can't wait to see you guys in the next one.